GLC is now offering a free audio stream of our 24/7 broadcast that we're calling GLC Radio, an online radio station that broadcasts our round-the-clock audio stream on a variety of platforms. GLC Radio gives you the ability to listen to GLC virtually anywhere, through your home or office computer, or on the go with a mobile device. You can access GLC Radio through our website or by searching for God's Learning Channel through iTunes Internet Radio, TuneInRadio.com, or on Shoutcast.com. Explore various GLC Radio-enabled mobile apps by visiting our website at glc.us.com/listen/GLC Radio. GLC Radio, your free connection to GLC anywhere, anytime.
Well, welcome to the weekend update, and I hope you're getting ready to celebrate Shabbat. I know you are.
Yes, sir.
You look forward to this day.
Yeah, I love it when the sun goes down on Friday.
Yeah.
We go down with it.
Yes, I do.
Okay, where do we start off, ladies?
On the lineup, probably.
Yeah, we got the weekend lineup. Man, we had some great programs this week. I hope you were able to catch them and you're watching them again this weekend. If not, you're in for a treat. So let's see, tonight at 8 p.m., Doron Kedar and John Innerson. John is Lars Innerson's son, and this was his television debut.
It was.
Yep. And boy, have I already been getting some great feedback. Everybody's like, man, that guy's going to be a force to be reckoned with.
Yes,
He's
he
highly
will.
intelligent.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, what a tag team those two guys
Aren't
are.
they?
This will be airing tonight, Friday at 8 p.m., Saturday early morning at 5 a.m., Sunday really early in the morning at 1 a.m., and then Monday afternoon at 2 p.m. And then we have Scott and Teresa Johnson, Hamiflat. In Hebrew, that's Hamiflat. That'll air Saturday morning at 1 a.m., Saturday night at 8 p.m., and Monday at 7 a.m. And I'll just tell you, this is not Teresa's first TV debut here on GLC because we recorded her when we were there in 2011, but it was her first time to come to GLC.
Mm-hmm.
And they shared parts of their story that they had never shared with you before.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really great, and we just love them and the work that they do. Okay, and then we have Doron Kedar and Scott Johnson. They're the first hour. Sandra Barris, Margie Pesdertz are the second hour. That's Saturday 2 p.m., Sunday at 5 a.m., and Sunday night at 8 p.m. And if you haven't seen it, you must see this program. Those two gentlemen met each other that morning at breakfast. God arranged the meeting, and Doron and John had come in the night before instead of just before recording.
Mm-hmm.
And
It was quite a meeting because your mother and I hosted breakfast.
Doron was absolutely blown away because, you know, he's a soldier. And not only a soldier, but a lieutenant colonel, something like that. So he has lots of guys under him. And he's very familiar with the lone soldiers. And so when he found out about the work that Scott and Teresa have been doing over there in Jerusalem for many, many years, he was game to come talk about that and tell you from his point of view why that's an amazing thing. And it struck me during that program, Mom and I hosted them together, was what Doron does for the Christian community as an Israeli Jew. He reaches out to us and he tries to help us understand things that have been very foreign and sometimes distasteful to us. Even the Holy Temple, God forbid, but we don't understand that as Christians, and he's helping us to understand that. So all three of those programs you definitely want to see. And then we also have Dr. Charles Scott. This was one that had originally aired back in February, and he's talking about a variety of health issues. A very, very good program. And Mom and I had hosted him on that one. That will be airing Sunday afternoon at 2 p.m. and Monday early morning at 1 a.m. So there you are. This was not his normal Thursday time slot. We just threw it in there because people miss this stuff. You know, we
They
think,
do.
wow, everybody's seen everything, but it's amazing how many times we hear from people and they're like, wow, I never saw that before.
That's right.
So we love when that happens. Papa San,
Yes.
have you a letter?
I have a letter, and it said, Al, Tommy, Amy, and crew, you're often in our prayers. Thanks for being so faithful and obedient. The guests and programs are wonderful, inspiring, hopeful, and informative. May the Lord protect you always and keep you strong and healthy. You are all beautiful. Thanks again. Most gratefully, Nadine from Las Cruces. Isn't that something?
That is something, you know, because God is really bringing in some really tremendous guests. In fact, yesterday, I had the privilege of hosting a young man who came to GLC with Duran Kedar about a year ago, and he is hosting an event with Jeremy Gimpel on Sunday, July 5th over in Alamogordo. It's going to be a rather large event, and we will be airing a spot about that, but we don't have it quite ready for you yet. That'll start airing next week. And I just want all of you to put on your calendars, if you can make it over to Alamogordo, and we'll give you details later, to go hear Rabbi Jeremy Gimpel over in Alamogordo, July 5th. And I want to tell you a little bit about this young man that we hosted yesterday. His name is Travis Pace, and as I mentioned, he came with Duran Kedar. Now, of course, Duran and John Innerson and Lars Innerson all are part of Cry for Zion. And there is I didn't see the program that you hosted with Lars, but I'm sure he talked about the upcoming Sukkot in Israel, the Feast of Tabernacles. It's a huge event, but they have a petition going. If you haven't signed that petition yet, please go on their website, read it. You'll understand more about the temple and sign the petition. They're going to be presenting that petition to the powers that be in Israel during the Feast of Sukkot. And so there are a lot of people who are going to be meeting them there for that tour. But the young man that we hosted yesterday, he's doing things in conjunction with them and meeting them at the big events. But he's decided he's going to host a small tour group so that it can be a little bit more intimate than 5,000 people. And anyway, I want you to check this out, and you'll at least get to see who this guy is.
Hi, I'm Travis Pace with the Sefkavar Ministries in Alamogordo, New Mexico. Join me this Sukkot in Israel as we celebrate this historic Cry for Zion petition signing that we'll be handing over to the Knesset members. If you'd like to be in Israel for Cry for Zion this Sukkot, but would rather do it with a smaller group, we're taking 22 people and have 18 seats remaining. Come join us in Israel for Cry for Zion this Sukkot, September 24th through October 7th.
And as that said on screen, if you want to check it out, that's his congregation over in Alamogordo, Asef Havar, and that's where you can find out the information. But I'll tell you what, I learned a few things from him yesterday that I am absolutely blown away by.
When will his program play? Do you know?
Oh, that Light of the Southwest will be airing Monday night, so you don't want to miss that. Monday night.
Yeah, I sure do want to see
Tune
that.
in, and you'll hear all about his story. It's really an incredible story.
It is.
And
It really is.
and you know what? I want to do a shout out because the girls are probably home back in Chicago by now. We had some precious women who came from Chicago to see Dr. Scott, and we had the honor of meeting them and then having dinner with them, and so hey. Helen, hey Maria, it was so great to meet you guys. They got to meet Travis.
They did.
And they were like way impressed. They're like, we will watch anything you do on GLC. So
Keep in touch.
keep in touch. That's right. All right, Mama, do you have a devotion?
I do. I'm reading from this last day's Bible again, the New Testament. I love some of the stuff in here. And this is a scripture from Hebrews 12, 1 through 3. And 12 through 14. So, because we are surrounded by such a great crowd of faithful witnesses? Let us also throw aside all the dead weight that keeps holding us back. We must especially do so with whatever sin it is that would so easily get us all entangled and trip us up. Let's give our full and undivided attention to the race marked out for us, running hard with strong determination and unyielding endurance until we finally reach the finish line. And we must constantly keep our eyes on Jesus, because he is our leader and the perfecter of our faith. He's the supreme example of a man of faith who finished his race with a blaze of glory. As he looked ahead and saw the joy that was waiting for him at the end of his race, he willingly endured being nailed to a cross and utterly despised all the shame connected with it. Now he's seated at the right hand of the throne of God. You also need to constantly remember how he put up with so much hatred from sinners so that you won't get discouraged and give up. So lift up those hands that are hanging down unused and stretch those feeble, shaking knees. Clear out all the rubbish from the pathway on which you are walking so you won't stumble, and also cause those who are weak to stumble because of you. Then they may experience healing instead. Be diligent in trying to live at peace with everyone, but especially continue to work at living a holy life. Because unless you are sincerely aiming to please God in all things, you'll not be with him in heaven. Hebrews 12.
It's in the
That was a good word.
Yep.
The Word of God is hard. It's intended to be hard because it's a instruction book.
Well, you know, what the Lord did for us was pretty hard too.
Oh,
So it's
Incredible.
probably a lot harder than anything anyone before
yeah.
or after has ever experienced. Which brings us to the first article, which is a pretty tough one.
It is.
It comes from Reuters, The Atlantic, and also a couple of reports from Matt Staver. On Wednesday, the United States announced that it would send up to 450 additional troops to Iraq to train Iraqi fighters as they aim to retake the city of Ramadi from ISIS. The timing was a bit eerie. It was almost exactly a year ago that ISIS achieved its shocking takeover of Mosul, Iraq's second largest city. And just 2 months ago, Iraqi fighters scored their biggest success yet in the fight to take it back when they defeated ISIS in Tikrit, Saddam Hussein's hometown, which lies on the highway to Mosul. But as ISIS held on to that key city in Iraq's north, it was also gaining territory in the west. And in mid-May, the group swept in and took over Ramadi, the capital city of Iraq's largest province.
The new deployment of U.S. troops is part of an anti-ISIS strategy that, to borrow Obama's word, is not yet complete. The picture of life in Mosul after a year of Islamic State rule is similarly uncertain. Accounts from the city give a textured portrait. One resident told the BBC, theft is punished by amputating the hand, adultery by men by throwing the offender from a high building, and adultery by women by stoning to death. The punishments are carried out to intimidate people who are often forced to watch. The report also noted the destruction of mosques, the conversion of churches, and harsh implementation of strict Sharia law under which women are forced to cover up head to toe, including gloves. It also includes floggings for small infractions like smoking cigarettes. A widowed mother of 4 told The Guardian she had had her hand chopped off for stealing.
Another Mosul resident declared himself a slightly ambivalent supporter and praised some of the group's ability to impose order and provide public services. ISIS, with all its brutality, is more honest and merciful than the Shia government in Baghdad and its militias, he said. Another resident told the Wall Street Journal, "I have not seen in 30 years Mosul this clean, streets this clean and this orderly." The admixture of strict rule, terror, and the creation of infrastructure has been a hallmark of ISIS governance elsewhere in its domain. It's a model that will be exceedingly difficult to dislodge.
Matt Staver of Liberty Counsel also sent a report marking the one-year anniversary of the fall of Mosul. He tells us, on that fateful day, the Iraqi army withdrew, allowing ISIS to run rampant through that historic city, destroying churches, monasteries, and even using a sledgehammer to destroy the grave of Old Testament prophet Jonah. In the weeks and months since, ISIS terrorists have persecuted, raped, and slaughtered thousands of Christians and other minorities. Hundreds of thousands of Iraqis who refused ISIS demands to convert to Islam or pay a steep tax fled for their lives.
Today, for the first time in the history of Iraq, there is no known Christian presence in Mosul. Those still living in Mosul refer to it as a prison city. Under strict Sharia law, virtually all connection to the outside world has been cut off, and personal freedoms no longer exist. "We are finished," said a Christian woman who managed to flee. "Our future, our children, our men have been destroyed. We have no hope left."
In another report, Matt tells of an article that appeared in a Christian Post report, which read, after the girl refused to perform an extreme sex act, she was literally burned alive. As disturbing as the beginning of the story was, Matt said he continued to read and got a horrifying glimpse of life as a Christian woman in the Middle East. According to a UN special report, the horrors that women and children are facing at the hands of ISIS terrorists is beyond despicable.
The report detailed how ISIS processes Christian women and girls through its sex slave operation. After attacking a village, ISIS splits women from men and executes boys and men aged 14 and over. The women and mothers are separated, with the youngest and prettiest sent to Raqqa, an ISIS stronghold, where they are displayed for sale to the highest bidder. One woman, the report concluded, was bought and sold by over 20 different ISIS fighters.
As ISIS continues expanding their reach and more men join their ranks, they do so with the expectation of receiving a sex slave or jihadi bride. This puts Christian women and young girls living in the Middle East directly in the crosshairs of ISIS. If you'd like to help, Matt has formed Liberty Relief International, which has partnered with Boots on the Ground Ministries to provide shelter, food, and water. Many also receive medical and trauma counseling. You can find them on the web at libertyrelief.com. And above all, don't forget to pray for those persecuted Christians.
What was the report you were telling me about the 1.8 million women?
Yes, I read a report that 1.8 million women have been raped, murdered, just all kinds
as part of this
as
sex
part
slave
of this
stuff.
ISIS thing.
And what I cannot begin to fathom is why our news medias, our international medias, are not really focusing on this.
They're not even mentioning it.
They're not, because I don't watch the news.
I don't hear a word about it on what I happen to hear.
I don't
try
get
to
it.
listen to news reports, but
I don't get it. Well,
I don't either.
some interesting things have been happening here in Texas, I can tell you that. This first article, or this next article, comes from the Associated Press. A federal appeals court on Tuesday upheld Texas's strict abortion restrictions that could soon leave only 7 abortion clinics open in the state. The decision by the 5th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals allows Texas to enforce Republican-backed restrictions that require, that require abortion clinics to meet hospital-level operating standards, a checklist that includes rules on minimum room sizes, staffing levels, and air ventilation systems. I don't think that's too much to ask.
The restrictions approved in 2013 are among the toughest in the nation. Owners of traditional abortion clinics, which resemble doctors' offices more than hospitals, say they would be forced to close because the new rules demand millions of dollars in upgrades they cannot afford. That would mark the second largest wave of closures in as many years in Texas, which had 41 abortion clinics in 2012, before other new restrictions took effect that require doctor admitting privileges, hospital admitting privileges.
Right. Only 7 abortion facilities in Texas, including 4 operated by Planned Parenthood, meet the more robust requirements. Republican Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, whose office argued before the appeals court in January, praised Tuesday's ruling. Abortion practitioners should have no right to operate their businesses from substandard facilities and with doctors who lack admitting privileges at a hospital, Paxton said. Unless the U.S. Supreme Court halts the decision, Texas will be able to begin enforcing the restrictions in about 3 weeks.
That's good news. We have some more news on that.
Well, okay, I'm sorry to interrupt, but abortion rights activists are always screaming women's rights, women's rights, women's rights. And, you know, the facilities that they're going to are not something, when they're in that state of mind anyway, it's not something that they're going to investigate. Mm-hmm. So, you know what? If they're going to do it, then we need to at least do our utmost to try to protect the lives of the women. Mm-hmm. And that's what this is all about, mm-hmm. protecting their lives. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well,
anyway,
we have
sorry.
Some news, more news on this from Texas Values Action. On Thursday, Texas Governor Greg Abbott signed the Pastor Protection Bill, SB 2065, into state law. The bill received bipartisan support in both the Texas House and Senate. SB 2065 protects Texas pastors, churches, and religious organizations from being forced to perform a marriage that violates their religious beliefs and from being forced to provide services, accommodations, facilities, goods, or privileges for a purpose related to the solemnization, formation, or celebration of any marriage if the act would cause the organization or individual to violate a sincerely held religious belief.
Despite strong opposition from some Democrats and from LGBT advocacy groups throughout the legislative process, including the ACLU, Equality Texas, and Texas Freedom Network, the bill passed with overwhelming majorities in the Texas House and Senate without any of the amendments aimed at watering down the bill. By passing with a vote of 2/3 in both chambers, the bill takes effect immediately.
Pastors from all over the state, representing millions of Texans, attended multiple hearings throughout the session supporting the bill and helped lead in the effort to pass the bill. The leadership of Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, House Republican Caucus Chairman Tan Parker, Attorney General Ken Paxton, and the public support by Governor Greg Abbott for SB 2065 were also key to the passage of this law. Numerous groups also contributed to the passing of SB 2065. Texas Values Action, Concerned Women for America, Texas Pastor Council, Texas Catholic Conference, Baptist General Convention of Texas, Southern Baptist of Texas Convention, Texas Eagle Forum, Liberty Institute, Conservative Republicans of Texas, Coalition of African American Pastors, Citizen Link, a focus on the family partner, and numerous churches.
And also this week, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals upheld contested provisions of the 2013 Pro-Life Omnibus Bill, HB 2, ruling that abortion facilities must comply with ambulatory surgical center standards. These safety standards are needed steps to protect women who go into abortion facilities from being less likely to jeopardize their own lives. Last year, the Fifth Circuit upheld portions of the law requiring that doctors performing abortions must have admitting provisions at a nearby hospital, and a provision that tightens safety guidelines for the abortion drug RU 486.
And finally, with the Supreme Court set to make its decision on same-sex marriage case by the end of June, We want to remind Texans that it's a critical time to take your stand to support Texas's marriage laws. Texas Values Action is a good source for information on how to get involved. They're urging Texans to sign the Texas Marriage Declaration and commit to pray for the Supreme Court leading up to its decision later this month.
You know, I'm quite happy to live in a state where they're really trying to defend us on their own when they're seeing what the federal government is moving towards.
Right.
I don't know how many other states are doing that because I'm not getting their information. This is where I live. But I know we have viewers across the nation, and I would just really urge you to start looking to see if there's anyone in your area that is doing something like that and get on board with it, because there is a lot of stuff going on, and these people are committing a lot of time, a lot of effort to making a difference in these different areas. So God bless them.
Really.
Well, then we have breaking Israel news. A 1,500-year-old church has been uncovered on the road to Jerusalem during archaeological excavations ahead of road work, the Israel Antiquities Authority, the IAA, announced on Wednesday. The church was part of a larger complex that served as a way station for travelers.
The Jerusalem-Tel Aviv Highway, Highway 1, is being widened, and prior to any construction work in the country, excavations are conducted to preserve any possible antiquities in the area. At the entrance to Abu Ghosh, not far from Jerusalem, a large Byzantine-era road station was uncovered, including a church.
The church measures about 16 meters, that's about 52.5 feet, in length, and includes a side chapel measuring over 21 feet long and about 11.5 feet wide, as well as a white mosaic floor. A baptismal font in the form of a four-leaf clover, symbolizing the cross, was identified in the chapel's northeast corner. In addition, fragments of red-colored plaster was found scattered throughout the building, indicating that the church had been decorated with frescoes. Rooms found to the west of the church had probably been used as living quarters and for storage. One of the rooms still contained a large quantity of pottery tiles.
According to Annette Nagar, director of the excavation on behalf of the IAA, the road station and its church were built by the Byzantine period beside the ancient road leading between Jerusalem and the coastal plain. Along this road, which was apparently already established in the Roman period, other settlements and road stations have previously been discovered that served those traveling the route in ancient times. Included in the services provided along the route were churches such as the one recently uncovered at the entrance to Abu Ghosh.
This is not the first church of its kind found by archaeologists. Other churches have been recorded in the past in Abu Ghosh, Kiryat Yearim, and Emmaus, Nagar added. The road station in Abu Ghosh was a busy one in its day, as evidenced by the oil lamps, coins, special glass vessels, marble fragments, and mother-of-pearl shells found at the site. This road station ceased to be used at the end of the Byzantine period, she said, although the road beside which it was built was renewed and continued to be in use until even today.
Amen.
Which is amazing. Okay.
Well, they decided to cover it up and preserve it for
a while,
but they'll go ahead with the road.
Well, that's good news. So it's been a busy week.
Yes.
It's been a great week.
God is
you know,
good.
I sent out the schedule to all of the staff for the next couple of weeks, and I'm sure they're all going, wow, we got a lot to do. So yeah, there's a lot coming up. We just want you to know how much we love you and how much we appreciate your support. And you know what? Be sure to tell your friends about GLC. It might be just what they need.
It might be. We love you.
Amen.
Pray for the peace of Jerusalem.
Amen.